Hi, this is an iMovie about the voyage of the Finnback. In the fall of 2019, we sailed a 35-foot sailboat, an Island Packet 35, from Canary Islands off the coast of Africa, almost 3,000 miles, right to St. Martin in the Caribbean. Please join the three of us on our bucket list voyage. Hope you enjoy it. I'm Edward Finn. I don't know if I'm the captain, but I'm on the boat. There's the rest of my crew coming right up. There's my charming son, Aaron Finn. He was a great help to us. Turned out to be the master, really. And lastly, but certainly not least, here's my darling wife, Regina Becker. She's a very competent sailor. There's a picture of our route. Previous year we sailed halfway across the Atlantic Ocean, and this video is shot on the return route from the Canary Islands through the Caribbean. There's a picture of our boat in the marina in Porto Santo in the Madeira Islands, mid-Atlantic. That island's a very hot, dry, high island, unlike our home. There's a picture of us working in the boatyard. It's a never-ending task to maintain your boat. There's a picture of Regina Becker, my wife, relaxing underneath the boat in the shade, while I do all the hard work. Here I am 40 feet up the top of the mast, putting on some instrumentation.
So this is November 8th, and we're lifting our boat in Porto Santo and provisioning to get ready for the journey down to the Canaries. Here's Edward sitting in the boat with the orange balloon, waiting for me to come with the groceries. We provisioned for a long journey up to a month and departed from Porto Santo on November. We left Porto Santo on November 11 and headed towards the westernmost island of the Canaries, La Palma, where we were going to pick up Aaron. La Palma has some fantastic scenery and black sandy beaches because it's a volcanic island.
There's a picture of the huge seawall on that island. It's a very impressive structure. It's about half a mile long, with concrete arches, and about 50 feet high, stretching along the coast, making a harbor.
This is the galley on our boat Finnback, and it's a very comfortable galley, easy for myself to hold on. And this is on the back of our Dodger. I sewed this sun cover with 2 wings to help protect us from the relentless sun. And the further south we got, the more we sure needed it. Aaron arrived on November 17, and we immediately went to explore the island a bit, including the tallest volcano with a crater of 14 kilometers on top of the island.
So we started our voyage across the Atlantic. Really, when we left the Canary Islands, we headed almost dead south, which is the classic old man's trade wind route. Headed south about 700 miles to the Cape Verde Islands, further south on the coast of Africa. That's the classic way to go, and most favorable winds, really. Winds and sea state look pretty good there. You can see from that little tattletale that we've had about 15 knots of wind right on our beam, and with some great sailing. Was a bit lumpier than we thought, and it took us a while to get used to the sea motion. One reef in the main there, and I think we had both the full jib and cutter staysail. We made great time, and we really enjoyed it. Actually surprising, it was a little cooler than we thought. I crossed once before and it was quite hot. My son was with us. He got a bit bored and he decided to decorate the wheel with some embroidery or whatever fancy work it is you do there. He had to keep busy because he's a young, active guy. Here's a picture of our route. We left the Canary Islands with 650 miles to the Cape Verde.
Okay. And right now it's banging
Hi,
on
Edward.
the side rails. So.
We're on the way to the Caribbean.
We're getting a bit too relaxed.
Caribbean, man.
Down on. Under spinnaker. Down to 6 knots. Aaron's putting the staysail on there, and I'm giving orders as usual. Not a good thing. Aaron certainly matured over this.
So this is the start of the night shift now, and I'm doing 7 to 11 tonight. Edward is still up there working. And it's a beautiful evening. Got the generator running. Pull down the fridge. Should be good. Good night.
So we had a number of different sail configurations. Here you can see the jib sheet attached to the spinnaker pole where we pulled out our jib, and it has a shock absorber which normally is used for dock lines, but it really took the strain off our rigging when the sail would fill with wind. Down below deck, things were pretty organized. We had all our fresh fruit and cabbages up overhead in nets, and I made lee cloths so people could sleep in these berths without falling out. Up on deck, Edward is inspecting the rigging once again, making sure that everything is fine and that there's no snags in anything. And you can see the black rubber shock absorber there again, taking the strain off the rigging as the sail repeatedly filled and maneuvering up on foredeck, which is a very hazardous place to be. It's very rolly and you have to have 2 hands on to hold yourself all the time. Very important to be clipped in when the seas are rough, and make sure that you don't go overboard. That's the last thing we want for anybody to go overboard.
Edward.
Hello there, crew. Hi, Mom.
Yeah, what are we doing today?
Yeah, well, we sailed south-southwest yesterday, 100 miles to get better wind, and we got better wind. We're back on our course towards our destination, close to the rum line now, towards St. Martin. We're doing about 270 true, and our speed's 5.6 to 6.1, and we're on full jib, 4-stay sail, and a single reef in the main, and we're broad reaching, and the apparent wind is at 120 degrees. So it's what you call champagne sailing, I guess, whatever that is.
And what time is it now? I forgot.
It's I think it's 10:20 local time, but that's subject to some controversy. And there you are.
Yeah, we're having a wonderful sail today.
And I'm looking forward to breakfast.
Okay, I'll get right on it. Well, we made hamburger buns because we can't go to the store and buy them. And then we made hamburgers, and that's what we're having for supper.
me on watch. It's early in the morning, 6 o'clock.
Chocolate cake, supposed to make his own sauce. I'm not sure if there's any sauce or what happened to the sauce.
Every evening around supper time, we made a point of having a captain's hour, or happy hour, some people call it, where we had a casual drink, and we all gathered in the cockpit and talked, opened the floor to suggestions or criticisms so that we could air any grievances that we might have. It's a good idea. You have a formal time to review. Anyone had something was bugging them, they could get it off their chest.
Especially with the sail plan for the night. That was super important before we went on night shift. So this just shows a little bit of how rolly it was. It was in probably 25-degree roll from side to side, non-stop. So I just wanted to show down below how everything is moving constantly, and I mean, you pretty much had to hold on at all times. Aaron is here having a nap underneath the fruits and vegetables, and even having a sleep was difficult because of all the rolling. But the most challenging thing for me was really the cooking. And we'll move around the cabin a little bit now and just show you guys like what it means to cook on board and how difficult it can be. Here's my stove. It's a 3-burner propane stove with an oven, which I love. Of course, it moves non-stop. I made coffee doing pour-overs, which is probably the most hazardous way to do it, but I like the coffee that way. So I used to put the cup in the middle of the stove and set up my little gadget on top of it and make my coffee. And the pots, of course, were held on top of the stove with fiddles.
Well, the wind is down, which is really good, and the sun is up.
Yes.
And we had a wonderful night sailing. Man, finally, man, it was wicked. I'm sore all over. 40 knots and driving rain and hang on for your life.
And lightning storms.
And lightning storms on top of us. Oh my God, I thought I was going to die a couple times for sure. Anyhow, I'm looking forward to landing in St. Martin on the French side. We got to go through 2 bridges. So that's going to be a little challenging. And I still got a few things left to cook, but very little fresh food. 3 cabbages, that's it, and some potatoes.
Here I am again on morning shift. We were very close to the Caribbean at this point, and I was thinking about how I was going to approach those bridges and the times that the bridges would open to let us into the lagoon in St. Martin. So I was getting ready while watching this most beautiful sunrise, and after 24 days on the Atlantic, we were all really looking forward to this last little bit and landing in St. Martin. The next frame will show our position just south of the island in the St. Bart's Channel, and our proposed route towards the bridge, which was going to open at 10:30 in the morning, and we're right on time for this.
Aaron got some excellent shots with his new drone here. We're approaching our destination, St. Martin. You can just see it there in the background. Okay. Also worthy of note, look at our flag. The wind's right on our beam. Excellent wind, and very little sail area required. No main at all. Inner forestay sail, and 6 or 8 wraps in the jib, and I'm sure we're doing 5.5 to 6 knots there. Seas seem to be a bit flatter than we noticed on deck. And we're almost there. It was a very happy time as we approach the end of our destination. We got to time it just right because there's an opening bridge there that opens on schedule. Well, as you can see, we made it through the 2 bridges, and we're inside the lagoon at St. Martin, and we're on an immediate destination on our way to the Lagoonies, a drinking watering spot and restaurant.
Very happy to get off at this time and meet our friend Arthur, who is looking after our boat, and here we are, happy crew at Lagoonies.
We chose the lagoon in St. Martin to end our journey because, based on schedule, it was about December 20th, just a few days before Christmas. We wanted to return home, have Christmas with our family back on the Rock in Newfoundland, and we did so. We rented a mooring off of Arthur in the lagoon and entrusted the boat to him. After a day or two putting it away, he had total care of the boat, and it still remains there in the water on his mooring in St. Martin. Spent a couple of days clearing up and enjoying the island, getting some ice cream, and then we flew back to Canada.
For the last week of our stay, while we were working on the boat, making some through-hull repairs and things like that, we rented a Airbnb in St. Martin, which turned out to be lovely, and we finally got that day on the beach that we were so hoping for. And of course, Aaron enjoyed it tremendously. We explored the island a little bit and experienced some of the nice food that they have. On the French side, we went to Tropicana's, and Aaron and I enjoyed a fantastic meal with beautiful wine. Real treat after cooking on the boat for the past month. St. Martin also has a number of natural pools. Aaron used his drone to show this very interesting place to go swimming. Can be dangerous depending on sea state, but this was a wonderful day for it, and he certainly enjoyed himself.
Here's a picture of Regina. She got her hair cornrowed at the beach, made her look even more beautiful than she normally is. And here's a picture. In closing, we all signed this Canadian flag, which in fact we did fly right across the Atlantic. But even more, we got some Team Finnback t-shirts. We proudly wore them on the last day and on the way to the airport. It was a great journey, and we hope you enjoyed it. Video even a little bit as much as we really enjoy it.
If you have any questions, you can email Edward at that address on the screen, and we'd be happy to try and answer whatever we can.